move it back so you can see it?
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. Okay. No, I was just hitting record on my thing. Okay. Hello, welcome. It's a trademark, and I'm contractually obligated to say that every time I give a presentation. So this presentation is about Python notebooks. If you're not interested in Python notebooks, Nearmap is across the hall. They do imagery, and so if that's more your forte, feel free. Okay, so I guess the genesis of this presentation is I'm online a lot at the GIS Discord, and I field lots of questions about people saying, what is a Python notebook? And it happened enough for me to realize that it kind of had legs, so that's why we're having a presentation about it. I'm not going to bother telling you the history of Python notebooks or anything like that. This is really just a functional offering to dip your feet into the world of Python notebooks and to know about them so you can maybe start using them in your own personal lives. Okay, so this is what we're going to cover. I normally like to have 50 or 60 slides and, go all TED style and bullet rapid fire through them and not ever read any of the text. But this one is going to be mostly demo. So here's the demo portion. Yeah, that's an Arcmap logo. And we're gonna see why. There we go. Is this, too much? Okay. All right, so here's Arcmap. I had to license it this week just for this. Notebooks are not in Arcmap, but I wanted to show you, let's just start with if you're familiar with Python, you might be familiar with Python through Arcmap, right? So we can do the world famous hello world, right? And it's going to do the thing. Or we can describe our state's feature class, right? And boom, right? It's going to be, this is a geoprocessing describe object, blah, blah, blah. And if you wanted to interrogate it or whatever, then you running through lots of print statements and, right? So whatever. I don't like it. I don't like Arcmap. We're just never going to talk about this again. Stop using Arcmap if you're using it in your life.
Hey, look, I gotta get a show of hands. How many people actually use Arcmap more than Pro? And just raise your hand.
Oh, it's okay. No, this is good.
This is good.
This is progress.
Look, this has changed over the last 4 years. I've asked this in multiple platforms. And the first year I asked everybody.
Did you see how they all kind of self-segregated?
Yeah. Pre-pandemic, it was mostly, more people used Arcmap. I'm glad to see that has changed. Okay, so we're gonna open up ArcGIS Pro. Look at it; it's so pretty. Got that modern look. Ooh, so good. Business is blue. So great. And so we're going to just kind of do the same thing real quick with this. Because the whole point is what is a notebook, right? It's we're in a thing about notebooks. You haven't even shown us a notebook. This is a notebook, but we're not going to talk about it yet. Okay, so here is the Python window in ArcGIS Pro. I like it because it has formatting. Look at this. It's different colors, right? Strings are gold. Yay! However, right, if we are still, I don't know how to spell. If we are still doing the same kind of stuff that we were doing in Arcmap, geoprocessing object, blah, blah, blah. So, what are Python notebooks? Python notebooks come out of the IPython package, or the IPython project, really, is what it is. And they are going to have a .ipynb extension. So if someone gives you a .ipynb file, it's a notebook, which is neat. Notebooks are really cool. Outside of like Esriverse, you can use notebooks to run Julia code, R code, Python. You can even like mess around with them to do JavaScript, but that's like real janky, real cutting edge, bleeding edge, right? I have one JavaScript notebook and it's janky. Okay. So now, without further ado, let's move on to the notebook. It's right here in your analysis tab. You'll just click Python notebook, and then it's automatically going to create it. It's going to call it new notebook. This is the export output type deal with the parentheses. And it's going to initialize your Python kernel. But that's how easy it is to make a notebook. So pretty neat. Inside of Esriland, or the Esriverse, as I like to call it, since multiverse stuff is cool now, these are called ArcGIS Notebooks. Okay, so that's why I named it ArcGIS Notebook, so we could be canonical here. All right, so why should you use a notebook? Notebooks are super interactive, and they also have markdown. So this is a markdown cell, and you'll notice it looks a lot like HTML. But the purpose of this, right, let's back up. To run a cell, you do Shift-Enter, or you can press this Run button right here. So I'm going to do Shift-Enter a lot, but for this first time, I'll click the Run button. All right, so with the markdown cell, you can make pretty formatted text. And the point of having pretty formatted text is that you can write instructions to people on how to use these things, or you can write documentation of like, hey, I did this and it just barely works, don't do this, don't touch this, or it'll break, right? Or hey, to run this thing, you got to do X, Y, and Z. So that's why notebooks are cool, because you got these markdown cells, and you can change it right here. But we'll leave it as a markdown cell. And then so each cell it's part of the interpreter, right? So it will run code. So here's our print statement from before, hello world. You'll see a star when it's running. After it's run, you'll see an integer in here. That's going to tell you from the time that the kernel has opened, what number of runs have you done, which is useful, and we'll see why it's useful. So it says print hello world, and that's kind of neat. So let's say we wanted to do stuff, right? Let's do the same stuff that we were doing previously. Okay, so ArcPi.describe. States. There we go. You'll notice I didn't need to import ArcPi because when you're working in the Esriverse, ArcPi is automatically imported, right? So you don't have to do it. However, if you're working with the ArcGIS API for Python, you need to import ArcGIS. So here we'll see the output. Instead of the geoprocessing object, it is a thing. It's a thing that looks like something, which is neat. And to maybe be a little bit more precise on that, let's call it a thing. Right, so if we just assign it to a variable, you're going to see nothing happens, right? Because nothing happens. However, if we end it with our variable, what a Python notebook will do by default is to tell you about it, which is nice, which is super cool. Or if we wanted to use the new describe object, right? We go on that. It outputs a dictionary, and look at this. That's a dictionary with all those crazy. All those crazy things, right? So it's storing values inside a dictionary. It's really cool, right? So that's why we like notebooks, because now instead of having to do a bunch of print statements to figure out like, oh man, what's the thing or whatever, we can, let's see what some of the names of a whatever. Catalog, there's fid set, catalog path, alias name. I'll try to remember all of those. Okay. Catalog path. Boop, boop. Okay, right, since it's a dictionary, you access dictionary values by putting in a key. So we do that, and then boom. So all of a sudden now you're not needing to run your script 100,000 times and like write out 20 print statements to do whatever. You can you can leisurely, just kind of interrogate it while you're doing your thing, right? So this is like Python notebooks being super interactive. This is neat. This is cool. And you know, if you got a script that takes forever to process, but you want to do something with an intermediate step, but you're not quite sure, you run into a bug, you run the thing once in a top cell, and then you work on the part that's messing you up on the next cell. So that's pretty cool. Again, here's some more markdown. You can link to stuff outside. You can put in images. You'll see that the images stuff do not work in ArcGIS Notebooks inside of Pro right now. Maybe it will in the future. Who knows? Okay, so now we're going to do some other stuff real quick. This is the ArcGIS API for Python. All we are doing here, ignore the commented out code, is that we are just going to do a data frame. I love data frames. I love pandas. Pandas is great. This is pandas. So all we're going to do is we're going to take our states feature class and we're going to turn it into a data frame, and it's super easy to do. Pandas is super great. If you're not using pandas, start using pandas. It's great for cleaning stuff. And then boom, look at this. Look at this beautiful pandas table. This is our feature class, right? Here's our shape column. It's pretty neat. Everyone loves it. And then you can do other things with pandas, right? So let's say we wanted to have a only Texas inside of a feature class. We could do that, right? So we could sub-select out, hey, everywhere where the state name is equal to Texas, and then we're going to save it as its own data frame, right? Technically, we do a copy, and you'll see an error that we get. But I want to keep it simple, so that's what we're doing. So then, next, what we can do, we will comment out this. And this is neat. Full disclosure, I don't ever use this. I could see why you would want to use it, but I don't ever use it. This is just logging into ArcGIS Online as an anonymous user and then making a map that says we're at the United States and zoom level 5, blah, 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 real boring stuff. But the whole point of it is we make a map inside of our thing that we can interact with, right? And so we are taking our data frame and we are plotting it onto our map. And then, boop, 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 boop. Oh my goodness, what's that? It's SCAUG. Oh, this is so cool. And what? You can click on it. What? There's a pop-up. I don't ever do this. I could see why you would want to do this. I don't ever do it, but I just want to show you that you could do it. It's a thing. It's possible. And then finally, right, and this is again why I love the API for Python, is that you can just push a data frame in by saying, hey, make it a feature class, right? And so the point of this is that you can have complex automation stuff going on, and when you run it, you can't see me pointing on my screen. I'll just like gesture wildly. It automatically will put output layers onto your map, which is, well, I don't know. Maybe that's a bug. Who knows? We'll just open it back up. Up. Texas. There we go. So that was an output, right? So let's say you have something complex, but you need to do something manual to it. You can write the notebook. It's going to output it onto your most recent map, right? It's a little wonky, and then that's where it goes, which is neat. All right, so all we're going to do now is we are going to go ahead and delete that. I'm going to delete that, and then I'll show you that it's deleted by doing a list feature classes. Womp womp. What did I do wrong? Oh, yes, I did not. There we go. And there we go. There's nothing, no feature classes there. I hope I didn't delete everything. We'll see. That would be, no, okay, good. Okay, just Texas is gone. All right, so that's the thing. That's a notebook inside of a notebook, and then we're going to go ahead and clear all of our output. And the reason, and you'll see why. There we go. We cleared all the output. We're gonna save. There's a different save button for your notebook than for your project. And, oh no. Also, don't save your notebook as the last thing that's opened, or else the kernel will run forever and not open. I don't know why. I'm gonna submit a bug report. Okay, so that was ArcGIS Notebooks. That's not the end of our thing. So this is all made possible by what runs Python under the hood in ArcGIS Pro. It is a copy of the Anaconda distribution. It's a package manager, which means that it makes sure that all your libraries in Python talk to each other and there are no version conflicts, right? You might be asking, well, what's next? What's next is that we don't want to open up ArcGIS Pro to do Python stuff unless we really want to do that, and I don't really want to do that ever. So we are going to say, let's make a new environment. I called it Esri2 because I already have an environment called Esri, and we're going to look at that. So all this does is it makes a virtual environment inside of my Anaconda distribution. You can download Anaconda from anaconda.com. It's free for non-commercial use, and it made a thing, right? So that's cool. All right, you can activate your environment by saying conda activate Esri2. And now it's active, right? You can see it inside the parentheses. If your parentheses say base, don't do anything in base. Leave base alone. Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. Leave base alone. Make virtual environments per project, because the more libraries you have inside, the slower Conda's going to get. So if you got something and like, oh, I just needed this library for this one project, make a virtual environment for it. Okay, so now that we are here inside a virtual environment, we'll do Python, and it's going to open up the Windows Store because I do not have Python in that environment, right? It's like, hey man, you want to download Python? Nope, I don't. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go over here to my cheat sheet and copy this. So starting at 2.7, Esri has made ArcPi available through Anaconda, which is great. So you can come into here, right, and install ArcPi. And that's cool. That's really cool. And this might take a hot minute to work. So we're just going to put this on the shelf and get back to it. Maybe. It's not super slow, but it's not super fast. Anyway, so we're just going to move right along to VSCode. VSCode is my integrated development environment of choice. I tried turning it to light mode because I know that dark mode is not great for presentations, but I about scorched out my eyeballs. So you guys are going to deal with dark mode because I can't deal with light mode. I can't do it. Okay, so this is, you guys might recognize this. This is the thing we just looked at. Kind of cool. So all we're going to do here is we are going to turn on my Python interpreter for Esri. Here it is. I couldn't see it for a second. Here we go. And what's cool about Esri is it's got ArcPi and ArcGIS API for Python. Ooh, right. So there we go. Click on it. So it's going to run. It's going to say, hello, world. Ooh, it's taking a while. Alright. Okay, wow, 13 seconds to run hello world. I'm just rocking and rolling. And then we're going to skip this one because obviously a thing is not a defined variable, so we'll just move right along. So here, right, now we are going to uncomment ArcPi. Actually, you know what? Let's do it. Let's live dangerously. All right. So if we don't uncomment ArcPi, this thing is not going to do anything, right? Because it doesn't know what its workspace is, right? Because it doesn't know what a workspace is. It's not going to run, and then it's going to give me an error, like, oh man, you can't do the thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to import ArcPi because we are outside of the Esriverse, and then we're going to go ahead and set the workspace. There's the workspace, and now we're going to run the same stuff that we were running. And we can comment this out for a second, and oop. Of course, it's not going to do anything if it's not last. There we go. Look at that. Boom. There's our feature class. There's the columns. Love it. Love it. And what's neat, it's like, well, Jordan, why do you like VS Code? Well, I like VS Code because I can see my variables. Look at these variables, right? So every variable that you create inside of your notebook, you can see, right? And with data frames, you can see it as a table, right? So you could see how super cool this would be for exploratory analysis. You're just like looking at stuff and, I don't want to open up an attribute table and like start stacking and doing Tetris on the docking of ArcGIS Pro. you got it, right? And you could even like you could write stuff inside of it, right? Oh, there's Louisiana. I don't do that. I'm just saying you could if you're interested in doing that. And then you're like, okay, yeah, show me the magic. Show me some Esri stuff outside of Esri stuff. And I would love to show you some Esri stuff outside of Esri stuff. But VSCode broke 2 versions ago, and they haven't fixed it, and I don't know that they're ever going to fix it. So there's that. However, the other things still work here. So we're going to make a feature class called Texas, again, using our Texas data frame. And then we are going to, see, this is the error. It's like, hey, man, you didn't really copy that data. It's a slice. That's okay. Then we're going to list our feature. It's not list feature classes. It's something else. Maybe we can describe it, right? If it exists. Oh, yeah. Let's just say it exists, right? Hey, does it exist? I just want to prove to you guys that we're doing stuff, right? I mean, I'm sure if you use a Python script, you're like, oh, yeah, we've done stuff. Don't worry about it. Ooh, boop, 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 boop. Ooh, ooh. Oh, man. There we go. All right. Oh, can't decode. Boop, boop. There we go. Oh. So most of programming is just typos and not typing things in correctly. Okay, so it exists. It's really there. It's really true. So we're going to minimize this. And oh, yes, here we go. Boom. And so what we're doing here is like, it's saying, hey, these are all the libraries that ArcPi, these are all the libraries that ArcPi needs to do ArcPi stuff. And we'll just loop. And so you might have a question, hey, what version of Python does ArcGIS Pro run? And the answer is Python is 3.7.11-1. Right, that's cool. Anyway, you'll also notice that it installs pandas and it installs the ArcGIS API for Python. The only thing it doesn't install is like the deep learning kit and the R stuff. So here's all it's doing. It's just downloading all of those libraries and then it's building them correctly. So what we're going to do while that's running is we're going to open up a different Anaconda window. We are going to activate my regular Esri environment. Then we're going to launch Jupyter Notebook. Right, so if someone's like, hey, I got a Jupyter Notebook, they're talking about a Python notebook. And so this is Jupyter Notebook. And believe it or not, this light mode does not scorch my eyes. And I don't know why. It's actually kind of soothing. So maybe I could do better about whatever, finding a VSCode theme that isn't horrible. Oh, look, and it ran. Oh, here, real quick, sidebar. Okay, so Esri 2, it said, hey, we finished the thing, right? So we can open up Python. Bam, here's a Python terminal window. Then we can import ArcPi. And then if it didn't have ArcPi, there'd be an error right there. Oh, no error, look at that. Wow, we've unlocked Esri outside of Esri. Super cool. Super duper cool. Okay, so this is, finally, I'm going to show you the cool stuff. Everything's going to work inside the Jupyter Notebook because Jupyter Notebook is like the OG and it's the thing that's always updated and it's the cutting edge of everything. So everything's going to work on Jupyter Notebook, which is nice, right? So here's the same thing that we got going on. Here's our hello world. Here's a GIF. Look at that. I put a GIF in there. It's got alt text. Do I have alt text? Yeah, it's got alt text. You can click on a link. Look at that. What's it going to link to? Another GIF. Oh, no. So good. So good. Okay, so then here, right, we can go in and we can set the stuff and then it's going to run. And that's going to be cool too. So it's going to run. I promise it's going to run. There we go. Look at that. Boom. Texas. So great. So great. And now we're going to do the same stuff, right? I showed you how to make a map inside of the thing. So let's see the map inside the thing. Oh man, look at that. So cool. And you know what we can do? Let's just do this again. Boop, boop, boop. And we'll say Texas. Run it. And now Look at that. Texas is darker because there's two things on top of each other. And look at that. You can do that. So cool. So cool. And yeah, that's the stuff, right? And obviously, you could write it to feature classes or delete it or whatever. So that's pretty much the presentation. These are Python notebooks. You have lots of options of how to run them, which is neat. And you don't have to do it all inside the Esri environment. So I hear, and I say this, I've said this a few times now, that you're not supposed to ask, do you have any questions? So I'm going to say, what did you find interesting? Or if you'd like to ask embarrassing, weird things, I'll try not to giggle. Bill Hodge.
First question.
Okay.
You officially made me feel old. I'm crying on the inside, and I enjoyed myself the whole time. I don't know how you do it, though. You sucked me into it. Well done.
Good. That was the plan. It's a gentle introduction, so I didn't want to do anything too earth-shattering. But the Python notebook is really cool, and I think it's a lot easier. I think what's really hard about programming in general, learning programming, is a lack of immediate feedback, right? So you run a thing, and with Esri stuff, sometimes it takes a while to run. But with the Python notebook, you can see it. It comes back immediately, and if it's not exactly what you thought it was, you can fix it. And so that's why Python notebooks are cool, especially for beginners, because it's got that interactivity, it's got that immediate feedback. You can use them in production environments, right? So you could do an ArcGIS notebook through ArcGIS Online and set it on a task schedule. It's free unless you want to use ArcPi, and then they will license you to use ArcPi for a fee. Or if you do Notebook Server on your enterprise deployment, you could also have ArcGIS notebooks and Notebook Server and run those on schedule. So you could do a notebook that runs and does all the stuff as part of your production environment. The caveat is it's really hard to keep notebooks under version control, and if you're not doing version control for your code, you're doing it wrong. You do version control in your databases, you need to do version control with your code. That's the end of that soapbox. But let's say you have a less than technical coworker and they want to do a thing. It's like, oh, I get an Excel from whoever, but they always name it something different, and I need to be able to do whatever, right? You could write them a notebook and say, hey, for this cell, just input the file path of the Excel file you want, and then you can do the thing, right? And then all of a sudden, you're not needing to license anyone for anything, and they can just run the thing, and they think that you're really cool, and you can write instructions. So that's where notebooks really shine. But notebooks are great for, again, exploratory data analysis, kind of building your stuff. When I'm done building my stuff, I just copy paste it into a .py file, and then I put it into version control and call it a day. So that's notebooks. Anyone else have things about notebooks they'd like to talk about, or things are kind of confusing? You right there. I see that slow hand. What's up?
So this is amazing. My main takeaway is whenever I start doing this, I need to call or email you.
Yes. Okay. So I am actually super generous with my time, and this is recorded. Maybe I shouldn't say it's super generous with my time. I try to be as open and transparent as possible, and the more people that are doing this kind of stuff means the more opportunities you have to steal from other people. And so I want all of you to be excellent so I can steal your stuff and, moderately attribute you later. Like, hey, this is from someone I know in Oklahoma. But yeah. Feel free to email me. I'm available there. I should be available there for a long time. I love this stuff. I think it's great. I think it's totally great. Anyone else? Bill.
I've got a last comment for the room. For anyone who is planning a presentation, if you think you need to be formal, stilted, or dry, you just got proof that there is another way. It is better. Well done.
And I didn't even decorate my slides. I do have hidden slides which are very terse, But I've recorded this, so it should be available for everyone. If it was too rapid fire and you need time to digest, there will be a recording available, and then of course these super terse slides that won't help you with anything. But if you wanted something cool, there are additional libraries that I would recommend. I hate that button. There are additional libraries that I would recommend you install inside of your Anaconda distribution, and it's GeoPandas and Fiona, because GeoPandas are easier to display your data than the Esri maps are, and so I really like it. But you can see it's a little complicated because there are package conflicts. So I did the GitHub research for y'all, and I made it work, so feel free to steal it, because that's what you should do. And then that really is, I guess that's my time. If you guys wanted 10 minutes to do this stuff, if you don't want 10 minutes to do this stuff, I will still answer questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kudos to the moderator.
There you go.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna hit the off record
A
button.
lovely gift.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is OBS. OBS is a screen recorder. It's open source and it's free. Use it to record your stuff.